everyone too, back with our January 2019 Wine of the Month. Hope everyone had a great break, and it's good to be back. Let's jump right in. I thought I'd get back to our roots here and walk into a Pennsylvania State store and just find something that was widely available that you could drink along with me. So I walked into our McMurray store. It's about 20 miles south of Pittsburgh. Not a premium collection by any means. Not every region is very well represented. But I tried to look for something different. I did find two Argentinian Malbecs that I thought we could try together. Now Malbec is something that really kind of blew up over the last, I'd say 10 years ago. It really became kind of a good alternative to Cabernet and Merlot. And Argentina was moderately priced and putting out some really good examples. So it's been, a wine that a lot of people have had. I have actually steered away from the last couple vintages. 14, 15, and 16 have been cooler than usual, and I haven't really found one that I've liked, so I'm excited to kind of jump in and try one again. Now, the two wines that I have, as you can see, we're set up. We're going to do this blind. I don't know which one is which, but I do know the two that I bought. The one is the Viña Cobos 2016 Felino, which is a Paul Hobbs venture. Paul Hobbs, I think a lot of people know from California with Paul Hobbs and Cross Barn. He's also obviously expanded into Argentina about 20 years ago and really put a lot of effort there. He even has a winery in Armenia and kind of the cradle of winemaking civilization, if you will. So really knows what he's doing, smart guy, was one of the founding guys at Opus One. Just a fantastic winemaker, so looking forward to trying this. And then the second was the 2017 Achaval-Ferrer MENDOZA Malbec. Achaval-Ferrer started by an Argentinian and an Italian winemaker friend who really went out to look for some really great sites in Argentina to try to produce some of the best Malbec that they could. So those are the two wines. We're going to do them blind. But let's talk about Malbec really quickly. So Malbec did not originate in Argentina. It originated in France, in the old world, like a lot of the grapes that we drink today did. And it originated in an area, Bordeaux, but in fact just even a little bit east of Bordeaux in a town called CAHORS. If you see CAHORS today, they're kind of hard to find, but that's the only place in France that I know today that is making a 100% Malbec. And even there, by law, it only has to be 70%, so a lot are being blended with a little bit of Merlot or TANNAT as well. But if you see one, try one. Going to be a lot more rustic, a little bit more structured, a little bit more tannic than something you'll get in the New World, but interesting to see what Malbec can do in its native home. It's also used in Bordeaux as part of the blend. So Bordeaux is a lot of blends of Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Petit Verdot to a lesser extent, and then Malbec and Carmenere are kind of that grape that vies for that fifth spot in the blend. Very small percentages are used today. I don't know of many chateaux, if any, to be honest, that are using any significant proportion of Malbec in their blend, but it still does have a home there. But in Argentina, it really took off. So, it was moved over by the Europeans, by the Spanish settlers and colonizers in the 1500s. Huge focus on quantity of wine over quality to use for church services and things of that nature. And not until the 1990s did it really become a grape of any significance in terms of quality. A lot of export markets opened up to the US and the UK in the 90s, and Argentina kind of doubled down and really found that the best expressions of Malbec in the country were in Mendoza. And Mendoza is up in the Andes Mountains. If you think about South America, it comes down to the point. You've got Argentina on one side, Chile on the other side, separated by the Andes Mountains. The best Malbecs are grown up in the upper reaches of the Andes Mountains. I mean, in vineyards that are 2,000 to 5,000 feet above sea level. Now, why does that do something good for? There's two things that high elevation does. Number one is it gives you a cooler climate. So Argentina is a fairly hot country. If you put those on the valley floor and let them grow, they're going to get ripe real quick. They're going to get kind of overdone, raisinated. You're going to lose some complexity of flavor. It's not going to have any structure. But up here in this cooler climate, it promotes a longer growing season. So you get a little bit more complexity in the flavors and in the aromas. The second thing is the high elevation gives you a thinner air, so you get more sun exposure for, even though the temperature is cool, you get a little bit more sun exposure to thicken those skins and give you some more tannic structure to the wines. So desert-like conditions up here, 8 to 10 inches of rainfall a year compared to Bordeaux where you've got 35 inches a year, right? So really kind of a tough climate, but happens to do exceptionally well for the Malbec that's been grown here. So let's jump right in and give these a taste. Again, I don't know which is which, but let's start with wine A. So first thing I'm noticing on wine A, from a color standpoint, you tend to get a little bit more purple edges and magenta edges on a Malbec from Argentina, and I'm not seeing that right now. I'm seeing a little bit, almost a watery rim, a garnet core, but not that purpleness that I usually get. Oh boy, on the nose. This wine is a corked wine, unfortunately. We're going to continue with the tasting, but if you ever got a corked wine, it's got that wet dog, that wet concrete, damp basement type smell. It's unfortunate. If I dig below that, I mean, I get a little bit of fruit. It's redder fruit though, it's not real dark fruit. Let's give it a whirl. Okay, I tell you what, it's not as bad as the nose. But it's also not very, it's not what I would expect from a Malbec in the sense that it's a little bit lighter bodied. There's almost a metallic sensation on the front of my tongue. And the finish is really kind of not present. It's got a little bit of, but it's a brighter fruit, almost like a strawberry, with a little bit of spice. You know, this reminds me almost of a Pinot in terms of body and in terms of flavor profile, with that strawberry, that bright red fruit, and a little bit of spice. And not a tremendously long finish, so not a huge fan of that wine, and I don't want to make any guesses until I jump into the next one, but it makes me wonder if it's the 16 Felino, because 14, 15, and 16 were cooler, rainier vintages, and I've kind of stayed away from Malbec in Argentina for a couple years. 17, you know, they're saying at least, has kind of put them back with a more traditional vintage. So let's give this one a shot. I don't know. Jury's out on that one. And again, it's corked, so unfortunately I can only tell you so much. Wow. I'll get to the nose in a second, just on a quick whiff, but a little darker. Still not that bright magenta that I see a lot, but definitely darker core. The nose, though, wow. So I don't know which one this is, but let's say it's the $20 bottle. I would pay $40 for this on nose alone. This is an exceptional nose on a wine, but it's not a wine that I think everyone's going to love. It's a wine that I love. Very earthy, very barnyardy, very musky, floral. The fruit is there. There's some dark fruit on this one as opposed to kind of the strawberry-ish here. You've got a little bit more plum, a little bit more blackberry, but really what strikes me is this incredible earthiness to this nose. Let's give it a whirl. I mean, a much more substantial wine. So really what strikes me here is if I was drinking this blind, again, I don't know that I would say Argentinian Malbec. This almost has a body and a flavor profile of a Pinot. This one almost has the body and a flavor profile of a really good Italian or Spanish wine. This actually would remind me of a good Spanish Rioja or something like that. Really, really earthy. Good dark fruit. Minerality, some wet rock there, and a good acidic finish, and I can still taste this wine. Really, really good length to this. Very silky, very smooth, very rounded tannins. This is an exceptional wine. I hope this is the Felino for $15.99 because I'm going to go buy a case of it. This is really something else. Let's jump right in and see what we got. So this was wine A. Again, it's corked, unfortunately, but my take on it was not my favorite. I am not going to buy this again. Okay, so this is the Felino. 2016, colder vintage, rainier vintage. I've had this in the past and really enjoyed it, I won't lie. So, you know, if you want to go out and try this, go ahead and give it a shot. I'm not saying don't buy it, just not my favorite, and not something I'm going to invest in again. But this Achaval-Ferrer for $19.99, I am definitely going to go out and buy a couple more bottles of this. This is really, really good Malbec. Exceptional balance of old world earthiness and new world fruitiness. It's definitely ripe and round and fruit forward, but there's just a tremendous earthiness to this that I can't get enough of. This is my style of wine. I don't know that everyone's going to love it, but maybe go out and try the two side by side and see what you think. It's not a huge investment. That's all I got, guys. January wine of the month is going to wind up being our 2017 Achaval-Ferrer MENDOZA Malbec, $19.99 in the state stores. Here's to drinking new varietals, drinking new regions, and expanding your palates. Cheers.